A qualified majority of member states gave the green light on Friday to the trade deal with Mercosur. The vote ends more than 2 decades of difficult negotiations.
U.S. forces said they have seized another sanctioned oil tanker in the Caribbean Sea. Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei accused protesters of pleasing U.S. President Donald Trump as demonstrations continued despite a nationwide internet and telephone blackout.
In a rare move, NASA is cutting a mission aboard the International Space Station short after an astronaut had a medical issue.
A qualified majority of member states gave the green light on Friday to the trade deal with Mercosur. The vote ends more than 2 decades of difficult negotiations between the EU and a group of Latin American countries, Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay and Uruguay, as well as years of internal EU division. France, Poland, Austria, Hungary, Ireland voted against, while Belgium abstained. The deal's opponents warned this agreement would expose EU farmers to unfair competition from Latin American agricultural imports. In recent months, the Commission has added concessions aimed at appeasing farmers and securing the crucial support of Italy, including early access to 45 billion euros in common agricultural policy funds from 2028 and a freeze of the EU's carbon border tax on fertilizers. Friday's vote opens the way for the EU to sign the agreement, with Commission President expected to travel to Latin America soon. The EU conclusion procedure, however, also requires the consent of the European Parliament.
U.S. forces said they have boarded another oil tanker in the Caribbean Sea. The Olena was the 5th tanker seized by U.S. forces as part of the Trump administration's effort to control the distribution of Venezuela's oil products globally, following the U.S. ouster of President Nicolás Maduro. President Donald Trump has said that the U.S. will control distribution worldwide of Venezuela's oil and will share some of the proceeds with the country's population from accounts that it controls. The Olena was accused of attempting to evade a naval blockade imposed by the U.S., preventing sanctioned oil vessels from going to or departing from Venezuela. Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei accused protesters of, quote, ruining their own streets to make the president of another country happy, in reference to U.S. President Donald Trump. His comments came amid continued demonstrations in the streets of Tehran, despite a nationwide internet and telephone blackout.
دستش به خون ایرانی‌ها آموده است. وقت میگه من طرفدار ملت ایرانم، یه مش آدم بی تجربه و بی توجه و فکر نکردم باور میکنن و قبول میکنن به طبق میل او عمل میکنن. صد آشغال آتیش میزنن.
Protesters marched through Tehran and other cities on Thursday night after exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi called for mass demonstrations. Iranian state media broke its silence Friday over the protests, calling participants terrorist agents of the U.S. and Israel. At least 42 people have been killed, while more than 2,270 have been detained, according to the U.S.-based human rights activists news agency. Trump reiterated on Thursday that the U.S. would intervene if the Iranian government cracks down on the protesters.
In a rare move, NASA is cutting a mission aboard the International Space Station short after an astronaut had a medical issue. The space agency said Thursday the United States, Japanese, Russian crew of 4 will return to Earth in the coming days, earlier than planned.
The medical incident was sufficient enough that we were concerned about the astronaut, that we would like to complete that workup. And the best way to complete that workup is on the ground, where we have the full suite of medical testing hardware.
The space agency did not identify the astronaut or the medical issue, citing patient privacy. The crew member is now stable. NASA cancelled its first spacewalk of the year because of the health issue. The crew of 4 returning home arrived at the orbiting lab via SpaceX in August for a stay scheduled to last at least 6 months.